we'll play all right. Only this time, it's personal.
How can it be personal? You've never even met the guy.
In my mind, there are two major components to making a good boss fight. 1, how well the boss plays. 2, how well the boss themes tie into the fight. Many of the best ones accomplish this by giving you a personal connection with them. Maybe they're a long-time rival. Maybe they're someone who's caused you trouble throughout the story. Maybe they're a former ally turned traitor. Whatever the reason, these are the bosses that affect the player character on a personal level. The DLC for Scarlet and Violet came with a lot of divided opinions, none more so than the sibling duo of Carmine and Kieran. People either love both, hate both, or adore one and loathe the other.
Okay, I'm not sure I like you. I do not like this woman. There are literal genocidal maniacs in Pokemon that I despise less than you. Oh, you are such an idiot.
Lord, grant me patience. Grant it to me now.
Not everything is about you, you narcissistic. So Josh, can we go anywhere on your hated characters supposed to like list? Probably somewhere.
I've not exactly hidden how I feel about Carmine, but to be fair, the Teal Mask had some truly awful writing and both siblings are victims of it. TLDR, the characters acted in reasonable, if somewhat short-sighted ways, and then the plot bent over backward to make Kieran right when he had no right to be. And I'll always be salty that we didn't have the option to tell Kieran the truth, even if we were interrupted somehow. And then we get to the Indigo Disc, and oh boy does Kieran change. He goes from a somewhat timid boy to a tyrant, terrorizing everyone at Blueberry Academy with his status as champion. Even Carmine seems to be genuinely afraid of her little brother. Kieran has claimed the role of your rival and has dedicated his everything to surpassing you. We spend a large part of the DLC climbing up the ranks of the Blueberry Elite Four, each of them 110% done with his shenanigans. Not sure why this was the plan, but it's apparently what Dragon Toothpaste wanted, so here we are. As for the fight itself, the Indigo Disc has a gimmick. All the battles are fought in the VGC format of double battles. This added level of complexity is only the tip of the iceberg for why Champion Kieran is such an amazing fight. His team is composed of a Drizzle Politoed, a Normal Terra Extreme Speed Dragonite, an Intimidated Incineroar, a Hydropple with an Assault Vest, a Prankster, Dual Screens Grimmsnarl, and a Porygon Z. In particular, the Politoed and Dragonite are built to work together, with Dragonite knowing Thunder and Hurricane, two inaccurate moves that become 100% accurate under the rain that Politoed sets up. Politoed also has Helping Hand, a move that boosts your partner Pokemon's next attack by 50%. Let me put that into context. With Normal Terra and Helping Hand, Extreme Speed effectively becomes 180 power. That's as strong as Victini's signature V-Create, but doesn't lower your speed, special defense, and defense, is 100% accurate, and is priority. It's also coming off Dragonite's 134 base attack stat compared to Victini's base 100. Yeah, this thing hurts! Now, while this team could make a few adjustments to make it actually VGC worthy, it's not far off. Incineroar has been a staple of VGC since it got the Intimidate ability. Normal Terra Dragonite with a Choice Band and Extreme Speed has been a terror in VGC this generation. Yeah, his team being in the low 80s also makes this a respectable challenge, even for a team of level 100s. All this is to say, Kieran definitely is a fantastically tough trainer, and even when you beat him, he doesn't fully go back to how he was before. He still sees you as his arch nemesis. He's almost like a dark hop now that I think about it. Now, saying all this, why is he so low on the list? A big part of it is that Kieran only becomes so obsessed with us as part of us being forced to lie to him. An overreaction on his part? Yes, but it does make this rivalry very personal. I just wish we had more control over it. Like, Arceus forbid we have role-playing in an RPG.
What? Role-playing in my role-playing game? They really should have put some kind of warning label somewhere.
There's also the slight issue of most of Kieran's fights with the player having this, for me it was a Tuesday vibe. It didn't start out personal, but as time marched on, it got very personal. Especially with how desperate he came with Terapagos. It's also hysterical that Nemona completely trashes him in the epilogue, when she was actually easier. Mankind is dead. Blood is fuel. Hell is full. These are the words that greet you when you first boot up Ultrakill. Ultrakill combines the aggressive old-school boomer shooter gameplay following the likes of Doom with a Dante's Inferno flair to create something truly special. You play as V1, the greatest in a line of combat machines that are powered not by any standard resource like oil or gas or solar, but by blood. And in your voracious appetite for more of that crimson ichor, you and your robotic kind have rendered the Earth devoid of life, and now have turned to the denizens of hell for seconds. Now, there were two big choices for this list. One of them was V2, your younger sibling in a sense, who's basically the Virgil to your Dante. Or reverse that, I guess, because the colors are swapped. The thing is, neither talk. So it's really left to the audience to how they see each other, which can extend to a serious, bitter rivalry to... yeah, whatever that was. So instead of V2, let's look at the other rival, the Judge of Hell, the Archangel Gabriel. Voiced by the meme legend himself, Gianni Matrigano.
It was me, Perry.
You first encounter Gabriel in the quite literal bowels of the Gluttony layer. He's watched you and your ilk butcher your way through the previous layers and demands in a holier-than-thou voice that you turn back and leave, for venturing any further is crossing the will of God, and to do that is to invoke the wrath of his righteous hand. Of course, you ignore his warnings and press on, being face-to-face with Gabe, and he is aggressive. Wonder why? You have to be constantly on the move to avoid his attacks, all the while he preaches to you about your innate unholiness and how your evil makes even the devil cry. Oh, I get it. But oh, this isn't the fight that gets Gabe on the list. No, no, no. For after you defeat Gabriel, something awakens in him. As he trudges his way back to heaven in disbelief and shame, it's revealed that God is no longer in charge, having disappeared quite a while ago. In his stead is the corrupt and draconian Council of Heaven. Now, Gabriel doesn't like this council, and they don't like him. Owing to his father's disappearance, Gabe has some
daddy issues.
So with Gabriel's failures, the council shuns him and cuts him off from God's holy light. Cut to the heresy layer in Act 2, and we see just what this has done to Gabriel's psyche. And you find him playing a very dramatically placed pipe organ. Respect. Approach him, and it's very clear that Gabriel isn't just mad, he's absolutely livid.
Machine, I will cut you down, break you apart, slay the lord of your profane form across the stars. I will grind you down into the very spots by for mercy. My hands shall relish, ending you here and...
Now christened as the Apostate of Hate, if you thought Gabriel was aggressive before, Gabe too is ludicrously fast and wants your GoPro looking head on a pike. Get to his second phase, and Gabriel in the background go from the sinister blood red to a more angelic and pure blue, almost like Gabriel is controlling his anger, harnessing it, focusing it. Defeat him, and Gabriel is left sprawled out, tasting his own blood for the first time and still reeling from the adrenaline, as are we. With just 2 fights, we see Gabriel absolutely transform from this infallible paragon of virtue to a bloodthirsty berserker thrilled by combat and his own hatred, to a solemn and regretful warrior who realizes his own folly and the hand he played and how things played out. It's a startling and very well executed series of events showing the degradation of this angel's sanity and morality. Really, only 2 things are holding Gabriel back from getting any higher. One is that Ultrakill is still technically in early access and the plot isn't finished. 2, and much more pressing, it's pretty one-sided. Sure, Gabriel's life is irreversibly sent into chaos by V1 and the machines, but V1 doesn't speak or express any emotion or character. Whether the feeling is mutual is but for debate. Still, Gabriel's boss fights are crazy, and in an ironic sense, he becomes just as violent as the machines he claimed to hate. Look, it's a satire of Christianity. There's gonna be themes of hypocrisy. In a way, the Fiendish Five all played a major part in shaping Sly Cooper's future when they banded together to kill the young raccoon's parents and steal pieces from his family heirloom, the Thievius raccoonus. However, one of the five has been a constant figure in the Cooper clan's history for centuries, hunting them as far back as the days of ancient Egypt, maybe even further than that.
You sentimental fool. Empathy has always been the downfall of the Cooper clan.
Clockwork is the leader of the Fiendish Five, a malicious, monstrous mechanical owl whose petty hatred and jealousy of the Cooper clan has kept him alive for centuries. Well, that and replacing your entire body with machine parts probably didn't hurt either. By now, he is more machine than owl, fueled by his desire to kill the last of the Cooper clan and claim his title as the greatest thief of all time.
Honestly, I don't even know who came up with this. I'm huge, how am I supposed to sneak around?
You've taken out the rest of the gang and braved your way to Clockwork's volcanic lair. After powering through robotic falcons, a death ray, a gas chamber, and a surprise truce with Carmelita Fox, it's time to clip all Big Bird's wings. Using Carmelita's jetpack, you take to the sky and pursue Clockwork in a dogfight, avoiding his beams and waiting for an opening to shoot his weak spots until he plummets into the lava. But of course he's not finished, why would he be? Phase 2, he starts shooting electrified rings at you while you continue to dodge and shoot. Finally, in Phase 3, it's time to put your acrobatics to the test. Make it through a perilous obstacle course, dodging lasers and sensors of all kinds, then wail into Clockwork's head. Make him feel the hurt he made you feel when he took your family away from you. Oh yeah, get the pages for the book back. While I like Clockwork, I can't see myself ranking this one any higher. The build up to the fight in the level is mostly minigame after minigame, and the boss fight is fine as is, but I really don't care for the jetpack. It started out so promising, but then it fell to the cliche side-to-side tennis match. Regardless, Clockwork's extended history and mysterious past make him a worthy contender for our favorite ring-tailed thief. And even after you defeat him for good, his legacy continues to haunt our heroes when a new team of baddies steals his scattered remains. The worst part is that even post-death, this winged nightmare still finds a way to hurt the Cooper clan in one way or another.
You will never be rid of me. Clockwork is superior.
I've talked about Mega Man Star Force a couple of times, so let's actually look at what the game has in store. Considering it stars one of the most depressed protagonists of all time, it's already a huge departure from the otherwise bright and cheery setting we're familiar with from Battle Network. But it's not just a creative decision, mind you, there's a lot of substance here. Geo Stellar is a boy who's been grieving from the shock of losing his father. He struggled to go to school or make friends for 3 whole years as a result. However, he gained a spark of incentive from not only the support of a really based teacher, but also the curiosity of a newfound friend. This is Patrick Spriggs. He seems like a mellow guy who legitimately wishes to connect with Geo at first. After all, they both have a history of depression and trauma. In Pat's case, he was abandoned by his parents as a baby, and the thought of being betrayed at such a young age lingers with him so much that it never stops hurting him. This caused him to develop a split personality called Ray, who is a much more violent version. Ray pressures Pat into teaming up with the villain Gemini in an effort to get the revenge on the parents who abandoned them. This leads to Pat unwillingly taking advantage of Geo's fragile trust and luring him to where he can be threatened to surrender the Andromeda Key. That's when Gemini's spark is revealed. Considering how each boss in the game is tied to a certain theme regarding their characters, it's interesting how Gemini is utilized to explore a character suffering from multiple personality disorder. Despite being 2 minds in one head, they're bent on severing the bonds between people because they, ironically, can only count on each other to believe how meaningless those connections are. And the fact that they personally attacked Geo, who was just about to grow out of his reclusion and learn to trust people again.
Patrick, you betrayed me.
As a boss, Gemini Spark isn't anything too complex, just a standard lightning boss that you can take down efficiently with wood-based attacks. But it's interesting how Pat's invulnerability protects Ray, showing just how much he's been shielding his other self. After the fight, Geo and Pat sever their ties. Gio can handle the betrayal, and Pat is sad to see that no matter what he did, he couldn't convince Gio to understand his situation. Both of them have really tragic dilemmas, but are nowhere near ready to face them head on and accept each other. Fortunately, the two do reconcile, albeit quickly when Pat protects Gio from a revived Gemini later on and joins in to help bring Gio back to Earth after his final battle. Still, this whole situation is a brutally realistic take on the dilemma of acceptance, and with how it's handled, we can't help but sympathize with both Gio and Pat. Their flaws and uncontrollable upbringing are so well portrayed that it might just be the peak of what this series has achieved when it comes to tackling serious, grounded subjects like these. Oh, this is Mega Man, by the way. The same franchise that gave us Wheatley, Sigma, and Redips will go on to spawn this. For real, you get the right cooks in the kitchen, you could turn a franchise into something truly special. Which would have been true for the sequels as well. They didn't put this character on the shelf and not develop him anymore.
Years of academy training wasted.
In both story and gameplay, the Chozos are your greatest ally throughout the Metroid franchise. Or they would be if they weren't all dead. I'm dead! They raised Samus after the death of her parents at the hands of Ridley, as well as provided her with key upgrades to her arsenal from beyond the grave. So it's only fitting that one of them would eventually be her enemy. First teased rather disturbingly in Samus Returns, Raven Beak is the main villain of Dread and the direct catalyst for a pretty big chunk of the franchise. As it turns out, Raven Beak is the guy responsible for the eponymous Metroids being released. He's straight up slaughtered all but one of his tribe just so he could use them as a potential army. In addition, he's the previously unknown genetic donor of Samus's Chozo DNA. So, yep, Samus is fighting her dad. Or one of them, at least.
Daddy issues.
In the present day, he plans to use Samus's newly awakened Metroid powers to create his own personal army. In their first confrontation, he utterly wipes the floor with her. Throughout the game, Ravenbeak has been secretly manipulating Samus, and the player by extension, by pretending to be Adam. Though, given he was always going on about how powerful and unstoppable Ravenbeak is, makes too much sense in retrospect.
Dad's not here, which is a shame, because he's such a handsome fellow with big, strong muscles.
The actual boss fight itself is one of the series' best. Ravenbeak is an epic 3-phase battle that will truly test all the abilities and skills you've gained throughout the journey. His own arsenal is comparable to yours, with his own array of beams, projectiles, and physical strikes. It's hard as hell, but gosh dang is it worth it! Things seemingly go sour when he has Samus on the ropes again, but her Metroid powers fully awakening allows her to finally beat him in one of the most effing metal moments in a Nintendo game.
Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the
Oh, and having him be defeated by one of the X-Parasites he released is a perfect cherry of irony on top. I just realized, if Ravenbeak was disguised as Adam, maybe it was him messing around with Samus and Other M. Hey, it's an explanation I'm happy with. Portal 2 is a fine example of a sequel that surpasses its predecessor, at least according to most people. It gives us more puzzles than the original, more game mechanics, more lore, and of course, more characters. These new additions to the cast include Wheatley, an Aperture Science personality sphere. He serves as a foil to our main character Chell, and his personality is that of a literal British goofball. Huh, why do I get the feeling he likes to watch the UK version of The Office? Probably my imagination. Wheatley helps Chell attempt to escape from Aperture Science a second time after we were put back in suspension at the end of the first game. Between his witty banter and overall helpfulness, it's easy to form a bond with the little guy, especially as he tells us all about the old caretaker who chopped up his entire staff of robots and how he almost got a job in manufacturing. But our adventure with him sadly must end, and after we give him control of Aperture Science, he kindly lets us go. Why are we going down?
I did this! Tiny little Wheatley did this.
Wheatley?
You know what you are? Selfish. I've done nothing but sacrifice to get us here. And what have you sacrificed? Nothing.
Buddy, what are you doing?
Could a moron punch you into this pit? Ah! Could a moron do that? No.
Okay, that did not just happen.
So it turns out that Wheatley was designed to be an intelligence dampening sphere meant to keep Gladys from getting too smart for her own good. Unfortunately, this realization causes Wheatley to snap and become another antagonist for Gladys and Chell to put out of commission.
What is my purpose?
You're a moron.
Oh my god.
After being put through a stream of Wheatley's tests and him trying to kill us, we're eventually able to make it
to his lair.
As I said back in Top 10 AI bosses, Wheatley and Gladys' boss fights are mirrors of each other. Instead of removing cores, our job is to attach them to him, corrupting him in the same way he was designed to hamper Gladys. At first, it seems hopeless because of the lack of portal surfaces. However, once you break the conversion gel pipe, all you have to do is use your portals to launch his own bombs at him, stunning him long enough to corrupt him. However, the blast shields that he comes equipped with definitely provide an extra challenge. It's worth pointing out that throughout this experience, Wheatley's personality doesn't change. Even though he wants us dead, he doesn't come across as truly evil. It's a similar degradation of sanity that Gabriel goes through in Ultrakill. Yes, we have to put him out of commission or Aperture goes boom, but you can't help but remember the good times you had with your jolly old chap as he starts reminiscing.
You never caught me! I told you I could die! Falling off that rail, you didn't catch me! Didn't even try!
This makes his last desperate pleas to grab him as he's sucked out into space. It's kinda haunting. Wheatley is definitely an example of how one can build a personal connection with the one they must destroy in the end. The only reason he's not any higher is that while his betrayal arc is downright tragic, it technically happens by accident. Neither him nor the player were aware what his true purpose was, and that he wasn't meant to possess such power as taking over an entire testing facility. And the realization of that was what ultimately pushed him against us. But still, if we had given the little guy a second chance, who knows? He did say he was sorry afterwards. Maybe he could have gotten that manufacturing job after all, or a job with Valve.
I heard they're hiring!
I really haven't talked about Ghost of Tsushima enough, have I? Let's fix that. Ghost of Tsushima. Sucker Punch's glorious return was more than worth the wait. It's the Assassin's Creed set in feudal Japan we've always wanted, but Ubisoft wouldn't give to us. Equally as impressive as the brilliant hybrid of both open world and stealth is the beautifully sad story. Jin Sakai is a classically trained samurai whose world is shattered when the Mongols invade Japan. Quickly realizing his honorable ways are no match for the unrelenting force of his enemies, Jin is forced to abandon his beliefs in favor of brutal, underhanded pragmatism. Of course, such a radical change in ideology isn't going to go over well with everyone, particularly Lord Shimura, who happens to be Jin's uncle and his main father figure. You guessed it. More
daddy issues.
He's the one most opposed to Jin's shift from honorable samurai ways to doing whatever it takes to defeat the enemy. And yeah, it's not too surprising he feels that way. Jin resorts to some pretty nasty skullduggery throughout the story, including poisoning his enemies who die in very unsettling ways. On the other hand, Shimura's unwillingness to change his ways isn't much better. Given the time and setting, sometimes you're stuck between two bad decisions, and one of them involves killing people in a dishonorable and maybe inhumane way. By the end, Jin's tactics both work and don't work. On one hand, if Jin fought the Mongols like a samurai, he ultimately would have lost. On the other hand, Jin strayed so far into the darkness of the ghost persona that the Mongols eventually reverse engineered his poison and used it against the samurai. Now, Japan ultimately winds up being successful in defeating the Mongols. However, there's no happy ending in sight. Having completely gone against everything the samurai stand for, Jin's been branded as a traitor and Shimura has been ordered to kill him. With one last sequence of meditation, the battle begins. Since this is a traditional honorable samurai duel, both Jin and Shimura are on an equal playing field. The various tools you've utilized throughout your journey are absent, and you're forced to fight fairly. Shimura is your equal, and there are no cheap tactics employed by him. Just one last test to bring your journey to a close. Afterwards, you're given the choice of whether to honor Shimura's wish for death or let him live. I'd say I put it pretty well in my stream.
It is as you said, Uncle. I have no honor.
With how many final bosses we've talked about so far, this might well be a remake.
Bury the light deep within.
Let's dance the dance of brotherly love. Mamushka!
Virgil and Dante. How many times can I gush about this rivalry? Not enough, honestly. Considering their sibling squabbles are some of the best parts of the Devil May Cry franchise. Twin brothers separated by fate and their conflicting beliefs. Virgil embraced his more demonic heritage, while Dante grasped onto his humanity. This ongoing beef has lasted years in the franchise, and they traded blows and crossed blades multiple times. Many times, in fact. Sometimes you didn't even know they did. These battles never felt too personal, and it was clear neither intended to kill the other. However, years and years of buildup come to a head in DMC5, and Dante must confront the storm for the final time.
You shall die!
I am the storm that is
approaching. The fact that this moment became a frickin' meme shows he earned that title. Being as stubborn as ever, Virgil says that if Dante wants his Yamato, he's gonna have to take it by force. So the two go at it for one last duel to the death. The winner gets all the marbles, and Big Bro ain't holding back this time. He's fast, precise, and a beast with that blade. He could dive bomb you from the sky and even summon a duplicate to double team you. And of course, his Sin Devil Trigger. It's hard to follow his movements, but not impossible, which makes the brothers feel more evenly matched. For his Devil Trigger, you just have to wait until it runs out, then pace yourself. But of course, before either of them can deal the finishing blow, Nero, Virgil's son, interrupts and decides to spend a little quality time with his old man. Something
Daddy issues.
This gag is getting way more mileage than it should be. It only makes sense that Virgil will be the final boss in the game, and to date, the franchise as a whole. He and Dante's rivalry is freaking legendary. And while the conflict was pretty personal, fighting your twin and your own son, it didn't feel very malicious. Virgil's stubborn and butts heads with anyone standing in his way. He mellowed out over time, partly thanks to the revelation of Nero, and he does respect his brother, enough to wonder how things would have played out if their positions were reversed.
That day, if our positions were switched, would our fates be different? Would I have your life and you mine?
I know he's being wistful, but it also feels kinda bitter. Meanwhile, Dante just wants to seal the underworld, and Nero wants his family to stop trying to kill each other. At the time of this video, the twin story ends with them sealed away in the underworld, destined to continue their back and forth dueling for probably all of eternity. But this time, feels a lot more chill and playful. Honestly, I don't know if I can think of a better fate for two of the best rivals in gaming. Handsome Jack.
It's cute that y'all think you're the heroes of this little adventure, but you're not. Welcome to Pandora, kiddos.
Jack had to be here. Gearbox's legendary antagonist is infamous for how much he makes you want to punch his plastic face in with constant jabs at you and being a near omnipresent force in Borderlands 2. Everywhere you look, you see this man's influence tainting the land and destroying everyone's lives, somehow making life on Pandora even worse. Let's run through the list of everything Hyperion's CEO does throughout the second game. Heck, let's throw in some of his accomplishments in the pre-sequel for good measure. Handsome Jack does the following. A. Burns New Haven from the first game to the ground and slaughters everyone there, Helena Pierce included, nearly killing the first Vault Hunters and causing a rift between them. B. Enslaves his siren daughter like a living battery to the point where she considers death a mercy to manipulate every Vault Hunter into awakening the Destroyer and giving him access to Iridium where he can run a monopoly on it. C.
Chokin poisons the landscape of the Ridian, getting his daughter hooked on it, and performing horrific experiments on the fauna and citizenry of Pandora, including Bloodwing, Krieg, and Tina's family. E labels everybody who doesn't kowtow to Hyperion's rule a bandit, and continues to slaughter without remorse, even holding his own workers' lives and families at ransom, so nobody even thinks about leaving his safe havens. E literally strangles his way to the top of the corporate ladder, killing innocent scientists at the slightest hint there could be a mole, just so his first order of business is to gain Hyperion's deepest secrets, and immediately order the death of every claptrap unit, even personally shooting the one that worked so hard to please him. Yeah, calling Jack a monster is absolutely underselling his insane megalomania. He causes so much pain and misery, all for the sake of his own self-importance and ego, taunting you all the while. So once you manage to shut down Control Core Angel and free his daughter from his abuse, Jack drops all pretenses and immediately comes down there to kill Roland and force Lilith to take her place in awakening the apocalyptic warrior, which he wants to use to burn Pandora to the ground. Now he shifts, and now the hatred is mutual. Without his daughter, Jack's taunts become less jokes and gleeful psychopathy.
Hey, how did Freckles suck? How's your day been, buddy? We haven't really talked much since I left you for Dad.
And now turn into dark, personal threats that he will take away everything you love, just as you did to him.
What's that saying? Don't pick a fight with a man with nothing left to lose. See, I'm gonna show you just how much you have to lose, and I got the most powerful siren on the planet to do it with.
So what are your objectives for the final mission? To find Jack and end this. After fighting through everything Hyperion throws at you in Heroes Pass, you meet Jack at the Vault of the Warrior as he's charging the vault key, breaking into an unhinged rant about how bandits have been a plague, how he's the true savior of Pandora, and how he's going to avenge his daughter personally. And well, through his fight, you see just how much of a coward he is. It's tough, yeah, but Jack opts to pull out digital clones of himself while he stays healthy beneath his shield. It speaks more to his character, about how Jack stayed in his ivory tower, never bothering himself with anyone until they directly threatened him. And as you leave him bloodied on the floor, Jack manages to charge the vault key and rants about how, despite everything, he's won. And he sticks his new pet Calamity on you. Of course, being a Vault Hunter, you're packing enough firepower to take down the warrior, and Jack is left dying, having truly lost, and rants one final time, holding on to his delusion still that he's a hero, and you are nothing but a lowly bandit. And the game gives you a choice. Do you shut him up early, not even giving him the chance to finish his mad ramblings? Do you let him finish and kill him yourself? Or do you give Lilith the honors, letting her get the satisfaction of avenging Roland herself? Whatever you choose, Jack is silenced. His reign is over, and you can see his scarred, unmasked face reflecting the ugly monster he was inside. Everything in Borderlands 2 builds to this fight. Every moment you're reminded of the horrors and crimes Jack has committed and just how far his reach stretches. So finally killing him, it feels good.
Vindication!
An entire game built up to this moment. Now what if an entire series did the same? Emerald Sonic Battle. The pathos surrounding this fight is intense, but you can beat it just by spamming one move. Waterblight Ganon, Zelda. She was going to confess, and you murdered her!
I don't want her, bitch! I want her! And you murdered her!
Riku, 358 Days Over 2 would be on the list if Days Combat didn't suck. Silver Snow Edelgard, Fire Emblem Three Houses. Screw you, this route was fun and the drama was great. Dixon, Xenoblade Chronicles. He took you in and raised you like a son, only to shoot you and revive the god he served.
Daddy issues.
Hollow Knight from Hollow Knight. Both knights cast aside by a father who meant for you to serve a purpose neither of you understood.
When it comes to big climactic showdowns, none could do them quite like the Metal Gear franchise. Every game has a huge final fight that is topped by the game after it. At least it was, until Metal Gear Solid 4. Now, explaining the lore behind Metal Gear Solid 4 Final Fight will take forever. Like, I'd have to go over Big Boss, The Boss, Solid Snake. Wait, I said this before. Oh, oops. I had the script for Brawler Bosses up. Silly me. You guys should watch that one. Very funny joke in that section, too. Here we are. Liquid Snake, Solidus Snake, Nordid Snake. Oh, gosh, it's the same script. Right? Did the writers literally just copy the script from Brawler Bosses?
I mean, to be fair, Josh, you do a lot of boss countdowns, and you have a tendency to reuse a lot of the same bosses over and over, to the point that a lot of them kind of start to blur together. So really, is it that surprising that your writers would say reuse entries from old scripts to, say, speed up the creative process?
You know what? No. I might use the same entries over and over and over and over, but that doesn't mean we use the same script. Shame on you all! Shame on you! Again! Snake vs. Ocelot is a fight that had an entire series building up to it. Ever since Revolver Ocelot was introduced in Metal Gear Solid 1 and his connection to Big Boss was revealed, the legacy of these two characters eventually had to clash in one way or another. And they did. A lot. Liquid Snake vs. Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid 1. Metal Gear Solid 2 was there. Ocelot versus Naked Snake from 3. And you can even use the development the two shared from Metal Gear Solid 5. Ignoring the lore from that game that technically ruins it, but we're not going down that rabbit hole. No. No, one rabbit hole we can go down is how our current combatants represent their pasts. Old Snake is the older version of Solid and the son of Naked Snake. Throughout Metal Gear Solid 4, he encountered many legacies left by his father.
Daddy is—
No! And inadvertently took them upon himself as he was trying to complete his mission. As for Liquid, it is Ocelot's body, but he used suggestion and hypnosis to place Liquid's personality and memories onto himself. I think it's not completely explained. Like how Ocelot has Liquid's voice at the end of 2, but then goes back to Ocelot's voice in 4, but still should be Liquid's personality. Oh, this is why I avoided this in Brawler Bosses. The two will eventually clash at the top of a large tanker, with each phase and theme representing their shared past history. Oh, you can even press select during this for images to appear showing said history, or just have Ocelot kiss you at some point. This fight has some crazy Easter eggs. As the two punch each other one last time, you feel each impact within yourself, and when Snake stands as the final victor, you stand with him as a proud soldier. Okay, so why was it Ocelot and not Sam or Armstrong when those fights are more action-packed? Well, it's why Jack was number 2. Those fights only had one game to show the personal stakes. Ocelot had a whole series and then some. I'm Josh Scorcher, and next time the bosses may be a little transparent. Wait, that was the other script again. Darn it. Okay, let's just say the next list will be personal, but more for the player than the characters. Okay? Okay, bye. Come! Hey everyone, this is Josh. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share the video around. Please check out my other social media like my Twitter, Twitch, and Tumblr. Check out my other channels such as Joshua Burner for reactions and other stuff, Dragon Fighter Gaming for tabletop, and Bob Equestria for cartoons. Consider checking below the video and donating to my Patreon, Streamlabs for my merchandise, or becoming a YouTube member. Thanks for watching.